Wait. Okay.
Zach Lidstedt was the star player on his high school JV football team. He was injured when he went to tackle another player and he hit his head on the ground. He would leave the game but would then later return in the second half. A concussion is a type of traumatic brain injury that occurs from a jolt or sudden movement to the brain. Concussions are important it is important to know about concussions because if not treated with caution, they can result in long-term health. But before we can learn about...
Do you want to start over?
Yes.
Okay, it's fine.
You got this, Tyler.
Zach Lidstedt was a star player on his high school JV football team. He was injured when he went to tackle another player and slammed his head on the ground. He would leave the game but would later return during the second half and would continue to take hits to the head throughout the rest of the game. A concussion is a type of traumatic brain injury that occurs from a jolt or sudden movement to the brain. It is important to treat a concussion with caution because they can result in many long-term health problems. Before we can learn about the symptoms of a concussion, today I'll be teaching you what a concussion is, the symptoms of a concussion, and finally the treatment of a concussion. But before we can learn about the symptoms of a concussion or the treatment, we must first learn about what a concussion is. A concussion is a type of brain injury that results from a blow to the head that causes the head and brain to bounce around or twist in the brain. When sudden contact comes, the brain can bump into the skull, injuring the brain and causing serious brain damage. The sudden movement of the brain causes stretching, which damages the cells inside of the brain, and this causes chemical imbalance. There is no visual evidence of a concussion without the use of an X-ray. So this leads to the importance of my next topic, the symptoms of a concussion. Symptoms of a mild concussion include confusion, drowsiness, memory loss, and vomiting. Emergency symptoms include ongoing confusion, seizures, muscle weakness, difference in pupil size, unusual eye movements, balance problems, and continuing unconsciousness. The recovery process of a concussion includes being easily upset, having a hard time with any task that requires concentrating, mild headaches, less tolerance of noise, and extreme tiredness. To ease the pain of the recovery process, you next must learn about the treatment to the concussion. The New York Times stated in June of 2013 that any player playing sports with a concussion should under no circumstance return to the game until he is completely symptom-free. They should also avoid any activities that require concentration, and this includes school. A person should always be looked after because you never know when they might have a seizure or fall into unconsciousness. After one concussion, the person is more likely to have another concussion. Females and kids also run a greater risk of getting a concussion. In conclusion, we have learned what a concussion is, recognizing the symptoms of a concussion, and finally the treatment of a concussion. Zach Lidstedt returned to the game, and it was because of this that ultimately he went 3 years of his life without being able to stand on his own 2 legs. The University of Pittsburgh estimated in 2013 that there are 300,000 sports-related concussions per year in the U.S. Learning about concussions is important because so that you will not become one of these in this number.